This is the story of the Canary Prince. Once upon a time, in an era where people were like hella protective of their children, I mean like super protective, like lock your daughter up in a tower protective, an evil queen locked her daughter up in a tower. She hired a bunch of servants to keep her company, but they were all narcissistic bitches who only cared about themselves, so the princess spent her time just staring wistfully out the window. One day, a prince rode by in pursuit of a boar, thinking the castle was empty. He was surprised when he saw a beautiful girl watching him from the window. They stared at each other for an hour like idiots, bowing and waving and smiling and doing whatever else idiots do. The next day, the prince returned and they stared at each other like idiots for 2 hours this time. The day after that, the prince returned and they stared at each other like idiots for 3 hours. 3 f***ing hours without saying a word. That's so boring. It takes a certain kind of idiot to pursue a relationship after pulling this kind of shit. However, after leaving on the 3rd day, the prince heard laughter in the forest. "Who are you? What's so funny?" he demanded. A witch emerged from behind a tree. "Oh no, nothing, it's nothing," she replied. "No, what is it?" he asked. "No, it's just, how do I say this? You guys are just like idiots, is all. I mean, I'm sure you're a nice guy and whatever, but you guys haven't even spoken. You guys are just like staring at each other for hours at a time," she said. "Look, I don't normally do this sort of thing, but I can probably help you out. I just feel so bad for you." So, the witch knocked on the door and gave the servant girls a big old book with yellow smudgy pages, saying it was a gift to the princess so that she could pass the time reading. The servants brought the book up to the princess, and she opened it and found a note that said, "This is a magic book. So if you flip the pages forward, like the way you would read the book, the prince becomes a bird. When you flip the pages the other way, he turns back into a man." After what felt like hours of her trying to understand the book, she finally got what it was saying. She ran over to the window, placed it on the sill, and turned the pages. She watched as the prince magically turned into a penguin. Cackled the witch from the forest, wiping tears from her eyes. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Do it again." The princess turned the pages again, and the prince turned into a canary. He flew up to the window, and she turned the pages backwards, and the prince turned back into a human. They spent the next few hours pretty much just saying, "I love you more. No, I love you more," to one another. The prince finally had to go because it was nighttime, and the princess turned him back into a canary, and he flew out the window. She turned the pages back, and he turned into a man, but it was too early, so he fell and broke his leg. "Ha ha ha!" cackled the witch once more before the prince hobbled into the night. The next day, the queen came to see the princess. When she was in her chambers, the prince showed up to see his love once again, but the queen saw this and thought, "This bitch." She sent the princess to get her a glass of water, and then quickly glued some pins on the windowsill so the princess wouldn't be able to lean on it to flirt with the prince. The queen leaves, and the princess quickly flips through the pages of the book. The prince flaps his tiny bird wings and lands on the windowsill, which stabs him. So the little bird prince is screaming and crying and bleeding all over. "Now it's just getting sad," remarked the witch, watching from afar. The princess turns the prince back into a man, but he's still bleeding and rolling all over the floor. And then suddenly, he died. So, the moral of the story? Don't be an idiot. But if you are an idiot, stay away from magic. Come back next time and you'll hear the story of the drummer who got kicked out of the band because he wanted to try the songs he wrote. The old woman was actually Madame Old with an E at the end, notorious whorehouse impresario and purveyor of the dirtiest, skankiest working girls on this side of Heidi Fleiss's pension program.